Hare Krishna, Dandvat Pranam to all the Vaishnavas listening to me. By Srila Gurudev's mercy, I am provided with the service of reciting the book Vani Vaibhav by Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur, for which I am grateful to Srila Gurudev and Yagneshwar Prabhuji for deeming me worth this service. I would also like to beg to all the Vaishnavas for their mercy and blessings. So this book, Vani Vaibhav, is the divine opulence of the teachings of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. We would start today's session by offering our prayers at the lotus feet of Gurudev and all the acharyas. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tad Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Vancha Kalpatarubhesh Kripa Sindhubhyev Cha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnebhyo Namo Namah. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Vani Vaibhav starts with a foreword, then an introduction and a glimpse into the life of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. This book is in questionnaire format and is broadly divided into three categories, namely Sambandh, Abhideya and Prayojana. So from today I will be starting with foreword. So, once upon a time, or in a moment that transcends time, the great Gaudiya Vaishnava teacher Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur instructed one of his more academically gifted disciples to write a book that would sum up the vast and profound teachings of Krishna consciousness. The disciple was Sundaranand Vidya Vinoda, who was specifically asked to accomplish this task by quoting only from the work of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta's father and intimate spiritual advisor. Bhakti Vinod in many ways was the first to express the rich Gaudiya theological system in modern language, both in his native Bengali and in English. He is also renowned as the systematizer of the tradition for the contemporary world. Moreover, he is revered in his lineage as a singularly empowered individual, whose writings are on an equal footing with sacred scripture. The eager Sundarananda thus took his master's mandate to heart, and result is the book you now hold in your hands, Bhakti Vinod Vani Vaibhav. Many words and precious time have been wasted on detailing Sundarananda's strained relationship with the Gaudiya Math, and this is not the place to belabor this issue. Suffice it to say that Sundarananda's book speak for themselves, and their analysis of Gaudiya philosophy is deep and penetrating. A few of his titles should be known: Sri Setra, Achitya Vibheda, Gaudiyara Teen Thakura, Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhantara, Itihasa, Harinam Chintamani, Kirana Lesh, among others. While there may be points of detail in some of these works that differ from the common understanding of Gaudiya Math devotees, overall they bear the same message of Krishna Bhakti, and they explain the signs of love of God with exacting detail. And we must consider Sundarananda's other services. For many years, he was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's chief editor and a respected intellectual in his movement. He was trusted enough to be given Bhaktivinoda's autobiography for editing purposes, which is something Bhaktisiddhanta would not allow anyone else to do. Sundarananda was clearly not an ordinary personality. Further proof of this can be found in a thorough reading of Bhaktivinoda Vani Vaibhav, which systematically conveys the power of Bhaktivinoda's teachings. As the title suggests, originally written in Bengali, the work is a veritable encyclopedia of knowledge, revealing both general information about spiritual life and intimate details of Gaudiya Siddhanta. Sundarananda draws on works ranging from Bhaktivinoda's autobiography to the Thakura's novels and molds Shastra-like literature. What's more, he adopts Bhaktivinoda's frequent style of presenting detailed information in the easy-to-read format of questions and answers. Sundarananda composed the questions and then allowed Bhaktivinoda himself to answer by quoting the Thakura's various books. Sundarananda also divides the book into Sambandha, the path, Abhideya, the means, and Prayojana, the goal, which are themes Bhaktivinoda uses in many of his own works, such as Jaiva Dharma, Kalyana Kalpataru, and so on. In doing this, both authors follow much of the traditional literature of their lineage. For example, Jiva Goswami's Sat Sandarbh is expressed in terms of Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. And in fact, the entire gamut of Vedic literature subscribes to this format either directly or indirectly. As Kaviraj Goswami says in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Vedic literature gives information about the living entity's eternal relationship with Krishna, which is called Sambandha. The living entity's understanding of this relationship and acting accordingly is called Abhideya. Returning home back to Godhead is the ultimate goal of life and is called Prayojana. These are the three subject matters of these books of knowledge. His Grace Bhumipati Dasa, the translator, and Ishwara Dasa, the publisher and the organizer of this great effort, have done an invaluable service to the modern world by presenting this book in English in the spirit of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The first volume, Sambandha, presumably one of three, covers such subjects of the Vedic literature: spiritual lineage, the spiritual master, sacred space, God, his associates, and so on. The volume is made even more precious by including a brief life of Thakur and his list of his literary accomplishments. In conclusion, then we find that Bhaktivinoda, Bhaktisiddhanta, Sundarananda, Bhumipati, and Ishvara have in a sense worked together to produce an ocean of transcendental nectar. If one plies this ocean properly, one will emerge in Vrindavana, the holy land of Krishna, where Bhaktivinoda now serves as Kamal Manjari, as a maidservant of Sri Radha. And by giving keen attention to the teachings of this book, one can begin to assist him in his service to the best of gopis. Satyaraja Dasa, who is also mentioned, is the author of 20 books on Vaishnavism and related subjects. He is also the senior editor of Journal of Vaishnava Studies, an academic quarterly esteemed by scholars around the world. This finishes with our foreword. Now we will move on to the introduction of the book. Vasudeva Ghosha, one of the associates of Sri Chaitanya, composed the following prayer: Yadi Gaura na hoite, tabe ki hoite, kemono dharitam de, Radhar mahima prem rase seema, jagate janote ke. Which means, If Lord Gaura had not appeared as the Yuga Avatar in this age of Kali, then what would have become of us? How could we have tolerated living? Who in this universe would have learned about the topmost limits of loving mellows that comprise the glory of Sri Radha? Madhura Vrinda Vipin Madhuri Pravesh Chaturi Sar Baraja Yuvati Bhaver Bhakti Sakati Hoi Tokar, which means who would have had the power to render ecstatic devotional service that follows in the footsteps of the damsels of Vraja. Indeed, the clever expertise of Vraja Gopis is prerequisite for entering the supremely sweet forest of Vrinda Devi. The above verses could rightly be applied to Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. If he had not appeared and mercifully made the teachings of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu available to the world, Vaishnavism or the true worship of Lord Krishna as enunciated in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam would not be presented today. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur was the seventh Goswami. The famous six Goswami of Vrindavan are directly ordered by the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to spread Lord Krishna's teachings for the benefit of conditioned souls, were bereft of the loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord. Sisira Kumara Ghosha, an intellectual and the contemporary of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, wrote in one of his letters to the Thakura, I have not seen the six Goswamis of Vrindavana, but I considered you the seventh Goswami. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur's literary contribution to the Gaudiya Vaishnava's philosophy and practice can only be compared to the works of the famous six Goswami. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur was single-handedly responsible for re-establishing Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, which had almost been lost by the mid-19th century due to the unscrupulous practices of pseudo-Vaishnavas, also called as Sahajiyas. The Sahajiya movement had perverted the purity of the mission. The mission thus became degenerated as a result. This degeneration continued up till the British rule of India. However, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur worked tirelessly to restore the Vaishnava creed's purity, dignity and respectability among the cultured elites of his day. He also sowed the seed for the future worldwide propagation of Lord Chaitanya's movement. In 1896, he sent a copy of his small book Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, His Life and Precepts, to the Library of Royal Asiatic Society in London and to McGill University of Canada, as well as several foreign institutions. That same glorious year, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the greatest exponent of the modern day Krishna consciousness movement, was born. Much has been written on Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur's unique contribution. Today, in every continent of the world, the holy name of Krishna is being chanted due to the seed of Krishna Bhakti planted by him. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the divine potency of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu or Gaura Shakti, graciously came to this material world. He was attracted by the sufferings of the conditional living entities who were bereft of the nectar obtained by the rendering devotional service unto Sri Sri Radhakrishna. Due to his magnanimity, he gave his mercy to the world by personally revealing his own supreeminence as the personification of the mercy potent Sri Gauranga. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote, we avail the opportunity offered by the anniversary celebrations of the advent of Thakur Bhakti Vinoda to reflect on the right method of obtaining those benefits that have been made accessible to humanity by the grace of this great devotee of Krishna. Thakur Bhakti Vinoda has been specifically kind to those unfortunate persons who are engrossed in mental speculation of all kinds. This is the prevalent melody of present age. The other acharyas who appeared before Thakur Bhaktivinoda did not address their discourses so directly to the empiric thinkers. They had been more merciful to those who are naturally disposed to listening to discourses on the absolute without being dissuaded by the spurious arguments of the avowed opponents of Godhead. Srila Thakur Bhaktivinoda has taken the trouble of meeting the perverse arguments of mental speculators by the superior transcendental logic of the absolute truth. It is thus possible for the average modern readers to profit by the perusal of his writings. That day is not far distant when the priceless volumes penned by Thakur Bhaktivinoda will be reverently translated by the recipients of his grace into all the languages of the world. The writings of Thakur Bhaktivinoda provide the golden bridge by which the mental speculators can safely cross the raging waters of fruitless empiric controversies that trouble the peace of those who choose to trust in their guidance for finding the truth. As soon as the sympathetic reader is in a position to appreciate the sterling quality of Thakur Bhaktivinoda's philosophy, the entire vista of revealing literatures of the world will automatically open out to his reclaimed vision. This book has been collected from many wonderful jewels of the literary ocean of Om Vishnupada Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Mahashay and includes his essays, stories, novels, books, songs and poems. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ordered one of his foremost disciples, Sripada Sundarananda Vidyavinoda Prabhu, a staunch follower of Srila Bhaktivinoda's instructions, to compile this book. This book is in 3 sections: one's relationship with the Lord, the process of achieving the goal of life, and the ultimate goal of life. It contains 180 chapters and has become more attractive because the teachings and conclusions of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur are presented in the form of questions and answers. The perfect answers for all questions of the practitioners of bhakti are thus provided in this book. Srila Thakur Bhaktivinoda is always manifest to the unduplicitous devotees in the form of teachings. Sincere readers can find Sri Gaur Sundar in Shikshashtaka, Sri Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sri Sanatan Goswami in Brihad Bhagavatamrit, and Vaishnava Tosani, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami in Stavavali, Sri Jiva Goswami in Sat Sandarbha, Sri Krishnadasa Kaviraj Goswami in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrit, and Sri Govind Leelamrit, Sri Narottam Das Thakur in Prarthana and Prem Bhakti Chandrika, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, surrendered and sincere persons can find Srila Thakur Bhaktivinoda within his books. The transcendental teachings of Srila Thakur Bhaktivinoda are the teachings of Sri Chaitanya, Sri Sarupa Damodar, Sri Sanatan, Sri Raghunathan, Sri Jiva, Sri Kaviraj, Sri Narottam Das Thakur. Why is Bhaktivinoda's Vani Vaibhav? The word Vaibhav is derived from the word Vibhu. The meanings of the word Vaibhav are divinity, extraordinary ability, incarnation and might. Since the teachings of Srila Bhaktivinoda are fully in accordance with the teachings of Sri Gaura, Rupa and Raghunanda, they are automatically divinely powerful and glorious. The teachings of Srila Bhakti Vinod are scientific, all pervading and full of bliss, glories, wealth, potencies, and unlimited energies. Another meaning of the word Vibhu is self-satisfied. Srila Bhakti Vinoda was fully self-satisfied and a Rasika devotee. The opulence of Srila Bhakti Vinoda is the teachings and knowledge of Sri Chaitanya Dev, which gave him immense pleasure. This book has been compiled with the desire to guide the hearts of surrendered souls towards the holy name, abode, and activities of Sri Gauranga. The opulence and glories of Sri Bhakti Vinoda's teachings are not temporary like material opulence. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada said, "The Vaishnavas also possess fame, but it is never temporary material fame." If one worships a Vaishnava's activities, glories and opulence, one will achieve auspiciousness. However, if one becomes envious of Vaishnava's activities, glories and opulence, one can never achieve any auspiciousness. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada therefore sang, "The tree of material fame is illusory, just like water in a desert." Although Ravan fought with Ram, he could not accomplish anything. Sri Bhakti Vinod Vani Vaibhav has manifested in this world to attract faithful and surrendered soul toward Sankirtan movement of Sri Gaurasundara. If one relishes even a single drop from the ocean of these divine teachings, one's dormant propensity to cultivate of Krishna consciousness will certainly awaken. We should not simply become satisfied by praising or buying this book as a matter of formality, like proud, foolish, ordinary people. Rather, our only duty is to express our gratitude and pray at the feet of Sri Bhakti Vinod Vani Vaibhav without any duplicity, so that the divine teachings will be established within our hearts under the subordination of Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur took the pleasure in preaching, and he was unique in feeling distress on seeing others' distress. One of his causeless mercy, he generously distributed many invaluable jewels with his vast range of literature for the benefit of fallen unconditioned souls. Krishna consciousness is a dynamic process. Understanding and applying it guarantees that we will one day develop love of God. Thus, Vaishnava masters have written tremendous amount of literature to explain the Krishna consciousness process. They have divided Krishna conscious practice into three levels: Sambandh, Abhideya and Prayojana. Sambandh refers to the understanding one's eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord and His creations. Abhideya refers to the practical aspects of developing that relationship, and Prayojana refers to the achievement of the goal of life, love of the God. All Gaudiya teachers recognize these three conceptions and have based their teachings upon them. Thus, this book, Sri Bhakti Vinod Vani Vaibhav, is divided into three sections following the same. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur wrote more than 100 volumes of devotional literature during his life. His books are as good as Vedic scriptures, and one can develop pure devotion to the Lord by absorbing and applying his teachings. But in this age, we seem to have little time to study religious texts and so little capacity to understand the vast teachings of the scriptures. Therefore, great personality Sundarananda Vidya Vinod Prabhu, one of the Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's prominent disciples, made a deep study of all the writings of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and on the order of his spiritual master, composed questions related to Sambandh, Abhideya and Prayojana. He then answered those questions by drawing directly from the writings of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. We are eternally grateful to Sripada Sundarananda Vidya Vinod Prabhu for his great effort in studying and mastering the writings and teachings of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur and presenting them in this format. Sripada Sundaranand Vidya Vinod Prabhu himself wrote as follows: I had the good fortune to hear from a very few constant associates of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur that he ordered his instructions to be spread all over the world in various languages. A number of times Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, who was not different from Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, directly ordered me, an insignificant creature, to carefully collect all the jewel-like instructions of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur and distribute them to the people of the world. To purify myself, I took up his orders, and under the subordination of the Vaishnavas, I have endeavored to compile this book. In conclusion, we pray at the lotus feet of Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and his instructions may uproot the weeds around the creeper of devotional service and allow us to enter into Sankirtan movement of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Praying to be the servant of the servant of the servant of those who are trying to serve the Lord. With that, we complete the introduction part. Now let us see a glimpse into the life of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Much have been written on the life and teachings of Srila Sachidanand Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Just as less intelligent, mundane persons cannot understand the birth and activities of Lord Krishna, similarly, the life and activities of a pure devotee of Lord cannot be understood by the mundane intelligence. Sometimes the account of the life and activities of great devotees are bewildering for the non-devotees, because they cannot comprehend how a devotee of Krishna could seem to be an ordinary person. But such are the ways of the Lord. He makes his activities and the activities of his pure devotees bewildering for those who are not devoted to him. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur was responsible for re-establishing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, which had become almost extinct by the mid-19th century. The mission had deteriorated greatly due to the influence of the Sahajiyas and later the British rule in India. Through his tireless efforts, however, the Thakura restored the purity, prestige and the respect of Vaishnavism amongst the cultured people of his day. He also sowed the seeds for future worldwide propagation of the mission. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur was born on Sunday, September 2nd, 1838, in the wealthy Datta family in the ancient village of Ulanagra, and he was given the name Kedarnath. From early childhood, he was attracted to hearing about Rama and Krishna. He loved to hear the recitation of Ramayana and Mahabharata at festival times. The village Ulanagra was very prosperous in those days. At the age of 7, he excelled in reading Bengali and studying mathematics. That year, his elder brother and his maternal uncle both passed away. The following year, his two younger brothers also met their death, and he was obliged to experience the pain of his temporary material world. At 9, he studied astrology. The family fortunes, however, began to decline, and at the age of 11, his father died. Young Kedarnath began to question, what is this world and who are we? At 12, his mother arranged his marriage to a 5-year-old girl. His mother hoped to improve the family finances by this arrangement. At 14, his uncle brought him to Calcutta to further his education. In his first year at Hindu Charitable Institution School, he took top honors in the examinations and received a medal. He began to contribute articles to the Literary Gazette, and at 18 he completed an epic poem called the Poiriade in 2 volumes. He spent his college years studying world religions and works of Western philosophers. He read the Bible and the Quran. He soon became known as a great debater and logician and gave lectures in Calcutta. In 1856, he returned to Ulanagara. There had been an outbreak of cholera. The village was empty and hundreds of people he knew had died, including his sister. His wife had also been ill, but she recovered and lived with her father. Kedarnath took his mother and grandmother to live with him in Calcutta. At 19, his first job was teaching 2nd grade at the Hindu Charitable Institution School for 15 rupees per month. But he could not meet his expenses. His mother had to sell a gold necklace to pay the rent back. In 1858, a letter arrived with the word that his paternal grandfather was about to leave this world and wished to see him before dying. He set out with his wife and mother. The old man appeared healthy on arrival. He was sitting on a bed in the courtyard of his house, leaning against a bolster pillow and chanting the holy name continuously. Srila Bhaktivinoda described the incident in his autobiography, which he wrote as a letter in 1896. He called for me and said, "After my death, do not tarry many days in this place. However, whatever work you do by the age of 27 will be your principal occupation. You will become a great Vaishnava. I give you all my blessings." Immediately after saying this, his life left him, bursting out from the top of his head. Such an amazing death is rarely seen. Therefore, he took his wife and mother to Cuttack and lived comfortably on a 6th grade teacher's salary of 20 rupees a month. In 1860, he moved his family to Bhadrak, taking the position of headmaster for 45 rupees a month. A year later, he took another position in Midnapur. Therefore, he developed a desire to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. I developed a feeling for pure bhakti, but I did not begin to practice it. While I was at the school in Midnapur, I decided that I would obtain and read books on the Vaishnava Dharma. There was a Jati Vaishnava Pandit at the school. I learned from talking to him how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached the Vaishnava Dharma in Bengal, and that the history and teachings of Chaitanya were recorded in the book known as Chaitanya Charitamrita. I began to search, but I could not secure a copy of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I had faith that by reading the book I would achieve happiness, but Vaishnava's books were not in print then. Towards the end of 1861, his wife became ill and died, leaving him with a 10-month-old son. I endured this grief like a warrior, according to the Psalm of Life. His mother tried to raise the child, but she too was old and found it difficult. 2 months later, he married Srimati Bhagwati Devi, a sincere Vaishnavi of noble character, peaceful and accomplished in all she did. In 1863, he wrote 2 poems that were published in the prestigious Calcutta Review, volume 39. He was highly praised for his work. He was then the head clerk at the judge's court in Chaudanga on a salary of 150 rupees a month and passed the law examination. In 1866, he accepted the position of Special Deputy Registrar of Assurances with power of a Deputy Magistrate and Deputy Collector. He was 27 years old. He took his first tour of Vrindavan later that year and visited other holy places, including Mathura, Prayag, and Kashi. In March of 1868, he finally obtained a copy of Chaitanya Charitamrit at Dinajpur, where he was appointed deputy magistrate. On the first reading of Chaitanya Charitamrit, I developed some faith in Sri Chaitanya. On the second reading, I understood that there was no Pandit equal to Sri Chaitanya. Then I had a doubt. Being such a learned scholar and having manifested the reality of love of Godhead to such an extent, how is it that he recommends the worship of improper